It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Air Force head women's soccer coach, Coach Laura Bursby. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in collegiate women's soccer?
Yeah, I played my college soccer at West Virginia University, and I was coming up on my graduation, and I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do. I had majored in physical education, so I thought I was going to be a teacher. I decided to stick around for my 5th year there and kind of help out with the team. And my head coach, Nikki Brown, is a huge mentor of mine. So just kind of stuck around. I coached some club soccer on the side and got my master's in athletic coaching. So that kind of started the idea in my head of maybe coaching versus teaching, but I always kind of knew I wanted to be in that lane. And then I applied for kind of random jobs once I graduated with my master's and ended up landing a job at Purdue right out of college. So that was kind of a great opportunity to be in the Big Ten and get my feet wet in college coaching. And I really just fell in love with it as soon as I got in there.
What was your experience like going to West Virginia and playing collegiate soccer for them?
Yeah, it was amazing. I think the program back when I was there was still kind of up and coming. They were borderline top 25 when I was being recruited, and I kind of felt like it was a place that was on the up and up. And that's why I chose it. I felt like I could impact, but I also felt like they were going to get better and had a lot of faith in Nikki and her staff to kind of build that program. And I was right. Was fortunate to go watch them when they made the Final Four a couple years ago. And yeah, it's just incredible to see how far the program's come since my time there.
How is it like obviously getting to represent West Virginia, the state, and getting to put on that uniform for West Virginia?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Pennsylvania, so my parents were able to come to all the games. It was probably only like a 4.5, 5 hour drive from my house. And yeah, it's a great place. I think just the Mountaineer community, I still feel it today when I'm walking through the airport and see somebody with a flying WV on their hat, just kind of give them a go Mountaineers. So it was a great kind of network of people, and I feel like I'm still a part of that as an alum.
What were some of your biggest college accomplishments as a player?
Well, my junior year I was an academic All-American, and then my senior year I was an athletic All-American and an academic All-American. So that was probably the highlight in terms of accolades. I was a forward. I scored some goals, but I wouldn't say it was record breaking. Kind of prided myself on being a great team player, and obviously got some recognition by my senior year, but yeah, I would say that's it.
Of course, how was that transition like from going from being a college player to getting into professional soccer and playing for Sweden?
Yeah, so I didn't go directly from West Virginia. I went to Purdue and I coached for 2 seasons before I made that decision. When I graduated college, there was no pro league in the US. It had just folded, I think, a year prior to me graduating. So it wasn't really that popular at that time for, especially with the women's league in the US folding, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for women to go on and play. But when I was at Purdue, I happened to to be, coaching and playing a lot on the side. I kind of got that itch to keep playing and got involved with a team there locally called FC Indiana. And I was just fortunate because it was in my backyard, and there was a lot of players that had played professionally that were looking, there was rumors that the league was going to come back the next year. And so this team was forming essentially with all kind of pros that were interested in going pro the next year. And actually, ironically, my roommate is now the head women's soccer coach at DU. She just got the job there. But she had played in Sweden, and she kind of helped me get set up with her agent. And I left a week later to go play in Sweden. So it wasn't well planned out, I would say, but it was a great opportunity. I always kind of wanted to travel and to be able to experience life in another country. And I tell all young players, if you have the opportunity to do it and play abroad, I just think it's an incredible opportunity.
What was your experience like getting to play professionally for the Cheddars and the Colorado Pride?
I think maybe the Chesapeake Charge is the team that you were asking about. That was the team in Maryland that I played for. And then when I had moved to Colorado in 2013, there was a W League team here. So again, with the now NWSL, the W League was kind of a step down from that. So it allowed me to still continue my coaching career, but be able to play in the summers. So it was a great opportunity. There's a lot of current college players that play in that league over the summer. And I had a great experience. It allowed me to keep playing, and some of my good friends came from those teams. And so it was awesome. And actually my assistant coach, our goalkeeper coach here at Air Force, was a teammate of mine when I played for Colorado Pride. She was our goalkeeper on that team. And now she coaches our goalkeepers here. So I think just in terms of connections, it was a great experience, certainly over the summer, and a high level as well.
What was your time like balancing being the assistant coach at Purdue while being a professional soccer player?
Well, I essentially left my job at Purdue to go play pro. So I didn't have to play both at the same time. I kind of made that decision. And I think my older self looks back at that opportunity to coach in the Big Ten straight out of college and is like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have given up that opportunity so quickly. But I kind of live with no regrets. And so the opportunity to go play abroad, I think is incredible, and just led me on this pathway. And I got back into college coaching when I returned from Sweden.
What was that experience like getting to go coach in the Big Ten at Purdue in 2007?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think just incredible opportunity for a young coach like me. Rob Claudia was the head coach there, and he was phenomenal as in terms of a good first mentor to have. Just a really high soccer IQ and level of organization. So I learned a lot. Now, fast forward to where I'm at, I think of kind of all the people that touched my life and kind of influenced me as a coach. And I feel really fortunate that I, had that opportunity at Purdue to work. I was only, 2 years older than our players. So, it was easy to relate to them, but pretty much picked up and laid down cones while I was there. Played a lot, stepped on the field because I was still young enough to do that. But I think just the experience as a young coach was really invaluable. And I think that's something that, I kind of cherish now. Being on the other side of that is just mentorship of young coaches, and helping them grow.
How was your experience like going to Bucknell and becoming their assistant coach?
Yeah, so after I came back from Sweden, I took a job at Bucknell, and being from Pennsylvania, I think it was, nice. I could travel home to see my mom, and I think from that standpoint, it was familiar. Um, and yeah, I mean, it was just a different experience having played in West Virginia. Was in the Big East when I played there, but played in the Big East, coached in the Big Ten, to the Patriot League. It was just a different world. They're high academic schools. We had no athletic scholarships at that time. So I think from an experience standpoint, it was really good for me to see the other side of kind of a small private school versus a big public school. And it was just a different challenge recruiting, but I also think there were advantages to that. And I think any place that I have been coaching wise, you just try to find what makes your school unique and, what types of people would best fit in there. And I think, it just opened my eyes up to a different world, in the Patriot League. And it's funny, back then I was competing against Army and Navy in the Patriot League, and fast forward to now, they're rivals of ours as the service academy. So
Of course, what was that experience like becoming the head coach and going to Jacksonville's university to become their coach?
yeah, so a lot happened between Bucknell and Jacksonville University, but I kind of left college coaching for a while, and came back in 2017 here in Colorado Springs, actually, and went to the Final Four with a Division II team in Colorado Springs called UCCS, which kind of led me back into the desire to be a head coach and to continue this career in college coaching. So my JU is actually my brother's alma mater. So that was kind of my connection there. My mom moved from Pennsylvania down to Jacksonville. My brother lived there. So it was kind of a pseudo home for me once my mom moved down there. So I think the opportunity to live in Jacksonville and be a head coach, first time head coach, was just a great opportunity, and certainly one that I couldn't turn down. It had its challenges, not gonna lie. We didn't have a winning record, and that was a challenge for me. It was probably the first time in my life where I didn't win, and that was difficult to handle. I think it was probably a long-term project there to turn the program around, and unfortunately I didn't stay long enough because the opportunity came knocking to go to LSU.
Of course, what were some of your accomplishments as the head coach and building that program? And then what was that experience like going to LSU and the SEC?
Yeah, I would say, on paper, there's probably not a lot that you could talk about in terms of accolades at JU. Like I said, I was only there for 2 years. So with early recruiting and how it is these days, my first recruiting class really hadn't even arrived yet. By the time the opportunity to go to LSU came out. So I really had no intention of leaving JU. But I think overall I learned a lot in terms of team culture, how to take a team culture and to mold it, create core values that you believe in as a coach, and kind of build a team around a solid kind of foundation. And so that was ultimately what I did across those 2 years. Like I said, I think you would have to look to, the current coach and the success that they've had to see kind of what the building blocks were for that. Unfortunately, I didn't stick around long enough to kind of see that project through. But you can't argue with an opportunity to go to LSU. So the head coach that I worked with at UCCS is the one who got the head coaching job at LSU. So while it wasn't really on my radar to go back and be an assistant coach, it's LSU, and they just won a baseball championship, a women's basketball championship. The day I arrived there was the day they won the football national championship. So you can't argue with just the success that school has had over the recent years. And so I think that opportunity to go and coach in the SEC and challenge myself at a different level is something that I really couldn't pass up.
What were some of the things that you learned during your time at LSU coaching in the SEC with teams like Florida, Georgia, and Alabama in it?
Yeah, it's a dogfight, I'll tell you that. I mean, every game was a dogfight. We unfortunately our first year there was the first year of COVID. So everything was kind of shut down. Our first fall, we didn't have a fall. And then I believe, or maybe we had our first fall was an SEC only schedule. I do remember that. And talk about being thrown to the wolves, like without no one on our staff had SEC experience prior. And I think having an SEC, we didn't even have warm-up games, you just jump right into, a heavyweight battle every single weekend. And we were winless, so I think it was certainly a learning experience for us in terms of the types of players we needed to recruit in order to compete, and yet we still wanted to be true to ourselves and play an attractive style of soccer. So we learned a lot that year, and turned it around and qualified for the NCAA tournament the next year. So I think there was a lot of growth there for us as a staff, and just learning what that level is, the level of athleticism, and just the overall competition from a recruiting standpoint is just another level.
For you as a coach, what was that experience like getting to coach under Coach Hudson and learn from her to then take over at Air Force once that job opened?
Yeah, so Sean is a good friend of mine. She, like I said, we coached together back when I lived in Colorado Springs before. She was the girls director for Pride Soccer Club, which is the club here in Colorado Springs. So she actually hired me when I moved here in 2013. We kind of co-coached. I played, and then I was a player coach for the reserve team, because we're pretty close in age, actually, for that W League team that I played for here. So we got to become even closer then, and so to coach with her in 2017 and go to a Final Four. I think just, when she got the job at LSU, it's like, all right, let's get the dream team back together, like here we are starting another program. We're going to have to build it, from the ground up. And, she's from Wales. So she said, come on, mate, let's go. And I trusted her to go there. And like I said, there were certainly challenges, jumping into the SEC and learning that together. But I fully believe if I didn't take that opportunity to go to LSU, I probably wouldn't have put myself in a position to get this job at Air Force.
What was that transition like for you from going from coaching in the SEC to now coaching in a service academy at Air Force?
Yeah, it's a whole different world, I've been drinking out of a fire hose for the past year, learning all the acronyms in the military. When I first got here, I used to tell people that I feel like I'm in middle school again. Like everything's uncomfortable. I don't know anybody or anything. So every day was a new learning experience, and it was kind of cool, honestly, because it's like how often, at 40 years old, you get to like just immerse yourself in an environment where you have to like grow completely, you have to learn every single day. And I think that opportunity for me is one of the things that drew me here. It was so different. But I also think it's one of the things that I love most about being at a service academy is it's really easy to differentiate us from other schools. Like we are not your run-of-the-mill mid-major Division I program. We are a Division I program. We function just like any other, but we have the support of the U.S. government, which helps financially. And I think, from a competition standpoint, the Mountain West is a great conference to be in, and it's one that I believe we can find success in, and I wouldn't have come here or left LSU if I didn't think we could be successful in a short period of time. So it's been a great experience so far. I feel like the program's headed in the right direction, and we're definitely looking to win some championships down the road.
As the head coach for Air Force, what was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto the soccer field at Air Force?
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, I can't remember the first game. It was probably a scrimmage, but I do remember just the feeling of playing Army at home. That was my first win as a head coach. And we probably had 2,000 plus cadets out at the game. So they rushed the field afterwards. You know, Service Academy games are a big deal here. And I think for that to be my first win, it was just really memorable. It was probably the coolest coaching environment I've ever been in. And we obviously had some big crowds at LSU, but it just felt different. You know, it felt like it meant something more to everyone there that evening. And so that was probably one of the best feelings I've had over the past year.
What is that like, obviously, getting to coach against Army and Navy? And what was that first win like, getting to coach and get that win against Army?
Yeah, we would love to play Navy. Unfortunately, they don't feel the same. So we haven't had Navy on our schedule, and don't probably for the next 2 years. So shout out to them. If they would like to come play us, we would welcome that opportunity. But we do have a home and home, so we'll play Army you know, every year. This coming fall we'll play them at West Point, but last year we had the opportunity to play them at home. It's just I don't know, it's just a different feeling. Like you can tell it just means more to everyone. Those rivalries have gone on for a really long time, and yeah, it was incredible. You could just feel the energy in the stadium, and I know our girls will always get up for those games in a different way. So we're actually, I think, in the process of coordinating a double header with the men with Army as well. So that will be pretty cool for the future.
Of course, what is that like, building those cadets around you and building that coaching staff around you?
Yeah, so our coaching staff are all good friends of mine. Lindsay Balconi came with me from LSU. So we actually shared an office for 2 years at LSU before coming here. And then Kaylin Farrell, who I mentioned earlier, played with me on the W League team. She's actually a Colorado Springs native. And we have added a volunteer coach who is active duty military, which has been really helpful for us, just because the three of us don't have a military background. She's been really helpful and just being a mentor to the players. And of course, she's active duty, so she's busy herself. She can't be at everything, but I think having an all female staff has been pretty cool. I feel lucky to get to say that I get to work with my best friends, and I think our team can probably feel that energy from us as well, just our connection, and then the connection that we have with our players being females and role models for them has been great.
What does a typical game day look like for you as the head coach?
I'm a pretty laid back person, so I don't like game day to be stressed in any way. So we like to plan ahead. We like to make sure we get there early, set up the field, and just have everything in order. I try to be inspirational in my pregame speech, and try to bring some energy out of the players. But yeah, I think the warm-up sets the tone for the game. I'm not a yeller or a screamer by any means. Pretty calm on the sidelines, and I think we do a lot of our coaching throughout the week. And so from a tactical standpoint, we want our players to go into game day feeling prepared, but not frantic or not stressed in any way. And nor do I want to stress them out with my own voice. So game day, I try to make it as relaxed as possible so they can you know, just trust the training that they've had, and go out there and do their thing, and be confident. So yeah, that's game day for me. I love them. Best day of the week.
Who are some of the teams that you face each week on game day
The teams in the Mountain West, or
Mhm.
just in general?
in your conference?
In our conference. Okay. Yeah, so New Mexico is a team that's typically at the top of the Mountain West. Boise State was a challenge for us this past year. I think Utah State is up and coming. Wyoming won our conference last year. We happened to beat them in the regular season, so that was a nice little feather in our cap. But Yeah, the Mountain West is certainly a challenging conference. We've got Colorado College in our backyard. So that's always our last game of the season. We actually moved that to our USL team, Switchbacks, their stadium downtown. So we got to play there last year and fortunately came out on top in that game as well. So that's another big rivalry for us, and we'll be back there again this year. So but yeah, I think it's a great conference. Every single game, you know, talking to some of the coaches that have been around for a while, they're like, this is how the Mountain West is every year, but any team could beat any team. And that's something that I think is really exciting about the Mountain West. Like I said, Wyoming won and we were 1 point off of playoffs, yet we beat them, so I think on any given weekend, any team can come out on top.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Wyoming come to your home versus going, like, let's say, to Army and playing them at Army?
Yeah, I think you always want to have an opportunity to play at home, and defend your home turf. It's just a different feeling. You're comfortable, you're sleeping in your own bed. I think it's a little bit unique at the academy, because there are a lot of other requirements here militarily, on a daily basis. And so the opportunity sometimes to get on the road and to sleep in a hotel and to just kind of focus on catching up on your studies and your sleep and just focus on soccer. I think for some people they actually played better on the road. So I think that's something that is pretty unique to the academy. But of course, there's nothing like playing on your home turf. It's just it's an advantage. You're used to the field, you're used to the altitude. Honestly, that's probably the biggest advantage we have at home versus going to other places, but it just means we'll be fitter than our opponent on the road as well.
What is that home game atmosphere like at Air Force?
Yeah, I think it depends on the day of the game. So we play a Thursday, Sunday set. And so Thursday night games can be really exciting. We played Army on a Friday night, actually. So in our non-conference season, we kind of have a bit more flexibility to schedule single game weekends. And but certainly night games, I think, have a different buzz about them than Sunday afternoons. It's a lot of families. We joke, we usually outnumber our opponents in terms of fans. We've got a great following from our families on our team. So they're always out there, Thursday or Sunday tailgating before our game. And so we've got a great kind of support network in terms of our families on the team. So I think regardless of where we're playing or which day of the week, it feels like we have a good crowd. But certainly in terms of getting cadets out, it's a bit easier for the night games.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for the Air Force women's soccer program?
Yeah, so we've only been here a year. I think one of the priorities that we've had over the past year is just bringing the team closer together, from a culture standpoint, just connection wise, feeling really close to one another. I think we had a great foundation built from the previous coaching staff, so it wasn't difficult coming in. But I think, being a female staff and being a part of female teams before, it can get catty, that people can talk behind one another's backs. And so we just kind of established norms within the program that we wanted to see and to live by. We have some incredible core values here at the academy. So we already have phenomenal people that come here. That's just what this place draws. And so we've got just some great, hardworking, coachable kids. It really is the best environment that a coach could ask for. So from a soccer standpoint, we're just trying to kind of increase the standard and level of play and soccer IQ of our players. And we've worked hard at that over the past year. And from a culture standpoint, we just do a lot of team building activities off the field. We've got an incredible high ropes course that they just opened up last summer that we were able to use early on in the season last year, and we'll do again this year. We're gonna take our first preseason trip. We're leaving in a little over a week for Montana. So we'll play University of Montana. We'll go whitewater rafting with them and do some team building activities out there. So we just try to build that into all of our road trips. To just bring them closer together off the field. And I think it's made a huge difference just in terms of the overall culture that we have on the team.
As a head coach, what does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes that are looking to be candidates and come to Air Force?
Yeah, so I would say I don't think our recruiting process is accelerated or decelerated in any way. Academics are obviously a huge priority here at a service academy. So, I think the sooner that student athletes can take their SAT or ACT, that's really helpful to us because we've committed players who haven't yet taken a test, and then we're just kind of holding our breath and waiting for that. And a lot of players that we're recruiting have great transcripts and grades to go off of, and so I think that is helpful. But we're not a test optional school, and so the academic piece of it is really important. I'd say the other unique piece to being recruited here is there is a medical component to getting into a service academy. So there's a long list of things that could disqualify you from coming to a service academy. And so it's important to do your research if you have any of those but are interested in considering a service academy. There are waivers that are possible for some things, but that's usually one of the hurdles that we have in the recruiting process. But I would say from a soccer standpoint, it's just like any other. We're going to ECNL and GA events to watch top players across the country play. And we're not necessarily just recruiting players that are interested in a service academy. We're recruiting players that we think fit our style of play and what we're looking for in terms of grit and athleticism and those kind of intangibles. So we're reaching out to anyone who we think fits kind of that mold, and we hope that they're interested back. So I wouldn't say that our process is too much different than any other school, other than really the academic and the medical component of it.
What does that official visit look like at Air Force when you have those prospective candidates come to Air Force?
Yeah, so we just try to show them what a day in the life looks like for a women's soccer player here. If about half the graduates from the Air Force Academy go on to be pilots. So if somebody has an interest in flying, we'll take them down to the airfield. We've got a great alum who's down there at the airfield, Julie Malloy, who helps us out with tours. So you can, go and sit in a glider. You can kind of see all of the air activity that's going on down there. And especially over the summer, it's really active in terms of, people jumping out of airplanes, powered flights going up, gliders being towed up. So it's really a cool experience for people that have an interest in flying. But not everyone who comes to the Air Force Academy ends up being a pilot. And so if you have an interest in engineering or something other than just flying, then we'll kind of set you up with a professor or somebody that could speak more to what you're interested in academically. But we'll show them the dorms, we'll show them the cafeteria. Mitchell Hall houses all 4,000 cadets at the exact same time for lunch every day, so it's a pretty incredible facility. The library and classrooms, we're really fortunate to have really small classroom sizes and classes here, so it does function more like a small private school in terms of the education. And so we just really kind of show them what a day looks like. Of course, people are walking around in uniform, so we get a lot of questions about kind of the rules and things that they have to follow here. And then we'll set them up with usually our student athletes for lunch, so they can spend some time without us there. to ask any questions that they might have about just the cadet experience, because we obviously can't answer all of those because we haven't been through it ourselves. So I think interacting with our student athletes is probably the biggest selling point for people that come on a visit here. And our athletic facilities, we usually do in the afternoon. They sell themselves. We just renovated our team room, which is incredible and rivals any Power 5, facility. So I think from that standpoint, we're a bit spoiled. We do have some incredible facilities here. And I think those things kind of sell themselves. We've got the second biggest weight room in the country, which is just so impressive that our young women get to lift in there on a weekly basis. So yeah, we're fortunate it's an easy sell if you come on campus here, and if you've ever been, just the mountains in the backdrop, it's sunny every day. Our campus is absolutely beautiful.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that blue and white uniform for the first time representing Air Force?
Yeah, I think it's exciting for them. They're in basic training right now, all of our freshmen. So we've gotten to see them quite a few times throughout basic training, but I think we're all really excited for them to finish up at the end of this week and start in preseason with us. And I know they're excited for that step as well, just to kind of have that balance of soccer and military. Basic training can be a pretty intense 6 weeks for them. So I think the opportunity to come out and do what they love and play soccer is incredible. And I think beyond just putting the uniform on, I think watching them salute for the national anthem as a group, I think is something that still just like gives me chills thinking about. It's unique. It's not like any other school, and the opportunity for them to do that before each game, I think is really cool.
What is it like as a head coach seeing those seniors put on that uniform for the last time representing Air Force?
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate to have a great senior class this past year. And I think there was some happy and sad tears at the end of the season. We obviously beat Colorado College, and that was, I think, a 20-year drought. We hadn't beaten them for a really long time. So it was a really cool accomplishment for our seniors in particular. But I remember one of them in particular was just bawling at the end. We tried to take a team picture with the trophy, and she had like tears streaming down her face. So, I think it's difficult to kind of end your soccer career, and especially here at the academy. You have a job lined up for you as soon as you graduate. So, for them, the opportunity to kind of continue playing, there is an armed forces team if they want to continue to keep playing. But in terms of, a professional career, it's not the reality for that group. And so I think, knowing that they're going to hang up their boots and that's going to be the last time is kind of bittersweet. But we were so fortunate to have a great group of leaders this past year for our first season. They really left a legacy and kind of, put this program going in the right direction. And so I'm really grateful for them.
Of course, as a head coach, what is that like seeing those cadets go from being seniors and putting on the jersey for the last time to then putting on their first Air Force jersey and representing the country?
Yeah, unfortunately I was out of town this weekend for graduation. So I haven't attended graduation yet. My assistant coach went, and she was like, it just gave her chills, the opportunity, the work that they put in here to commission as second lieutenants in the Air Force, I think is something that's really special. So graduation day is something that is, everyone looks forward to, and it's just an incredible ceremony here. But that is the mission of this place, is to develop leaders of character. And so to see the growth that they've had, and of course this year's senior class we only had for a year, so I can't speak to their growth across 4 years, but I can only imagine, once this year's or last year's freshman class become seniors, they're kind of like your babies and you watch them grow up. And I think here in particular, it's a place that challenges you, that really helps you grow as a person, not just a soccer player. Of course, that's our job as soccer coaches, but I think the whole institution is geared toward growth, toward character growth, and to see them graduate and to see them, we do a senior banquet in the spring, and to honor them and to just watch them stand up there and talk, how poised and eloquent they are, I think is incredible. And I've been at other institutions, and you don't get that growth in other places. You're not forced out of your comfort zone as much as you are here. And sometimes we'll see it even within our freshman class, in 1 year, and you're just like, wow, that kid was so shy at the beginning, and now she's like, blossoming into this like well-spoken, confident person. And I think that's what it's about, the opportunity to kind of grow as a person. And I feel like the Air Force Academy does that.
What are some of your future plans as head coach for the Air Force Academy?
Well, we want to win a Mountain West championship. That's certainly on our radar right now. I think, first step is to qualify for playoffs, because we just missed that mark last year. So I think, step one is getting to the playoffs this year. And then hopefully competing for championships year after year. So just building a winning culture, and a place that players want to come to, future players, kind of recognize the opportunities that come from the Air Force Academy, and then also recognize that their experience here as a soccer player is just going to be like any other, or maybe even better. And so, I have no plans to leave. This is certainly not a stepping stone for me. I love Colorado Springs. I love this institution. I love my job. I feel, grateful to come to work on a daily basis. So for me, it just is building long-term success within the program, and I'm excited to be laying the foundation for that now.
What advice would you give those freshmen entering their first year of college soccer?
Come in fit. I did not do that as a freshman. I remember our fitness test my freshman year, and I was throwing up, trying to make the standard because I didn't prepare properly. We talk about that a lot at the Air Force Academy. It's unique here because they go through 6 weeks of basic training, but the better you are prepared on the front end, the more you're going to put yourself in a position to compete for playing time your freshman year. If you put yourself behind the 8 ball fitness wise, it's just a really difficult season. You have 20 games in a short amount of time, and you're playing every Thursday and Sunday. So if you're not making the travel roster for your team, it's really difficult to play catch up in the middle of the fall. So the best thing you can do is put yourself in the best fitness place possible, coming into your respective program, and then be confident, and and hopefully earn time your freshman year. But yeah, that would be my best piece of advice.
What advice would you give those college seniors looking to go play professional soccer after their collegiate time?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many opportunities these days, right? We've got the World Cup on right now. I saw a thing the other day of like the number of NWSL players that are playing in the World Cup. So, with the NWSL here, Sweden, Mexico, there's so many leagues and opportunities for women now to play professionally. And I think if you have that opportunity and you have that drive and desire to do it, the opportunities are there. And so, it can sometimes be daunting coming right out of college, but usually, your college coach could connect you with somebody that could, point you in the right direction to create that opportunity. And if you don't get drafted in the NWSL, that doesn't mean your opportunity to play professionally is over. Like I said, I didn't have that opportunity when I was graduating, but had an opportunity to go and live and play in Sweden, and just that chance to be in another country and immerse yourself in a different culture and learn a new language. I think all of those things provide benefits as well. And so yeah, I tell anyone that has that opportunity to go and do it while you're young, especially. You know, I don't, depending on the leagues, the salaries still aren't the greatest for women's soccer players. So sometimes that can be a challenge, but I think the experience outweighs kind of the monetary value of it.
What advice would you give those college soccer players that are in the service academy that are going into the military after collegiate soccer?
Yeah, I mean, I think their 4 years here prepared them for what comes next. I mean, as you graduate and commission as an officer, you're going to be in a leadership position, and you're going to be in charge of other people. But I think your experience here at the academy, everything is geared toward preparing you for that opportunity. And so I think more than anything, you know, Division I athletes have that, you know, that understanding of being on a team and what it means to have others looking up to you. And so I would just say be confident. You know, you might be in an uncomfortable situation, you might not always know the answers, but it's okay to be vulnerable and to be honest with the people that are underneath of you, and to say, hey, I don't have all the answers, but I'm going to work with you to find them. So I think their experience here, and certainly as an athlete, they can pull from those experiences to find success as they commission as officers.
What advice would you give those college soccer players looking to get into college coaching after their playing career?
Yeah, I mean, I love the profession. I've always wanted to be in a job where I could wear soccer clothes all day. So I think that's probably one of the best perks of being a soccer coach. You know, you have flexibility in your schedule depending on when your team trains. You get to travel and recruit. You know, some people don't love recruiting, but I absolutely enjoy it. I think just getting the opportunity, I go out to Phoenix all the time and San Diego. Was just out there recently, and it was 75 and sunny, and I have to pinch myself. I'm just sitting in a chair watching soccer all day. So to me, it doesn't get any better than that. I would say one of the biggest challenges with being a college coach is you have to be willing to kind of go where the next job takes you. You know, it takes some time to kind of get up the ladder and to be in the position that I'm at now. I look back on my career, and I wouldn't be here, like I said, if I didn't take that opportunity to move to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I'd never even been there before I took the job at LSU. So, you know, I think you make some sacrifices in terms of moving, and certainly from a personal standpoint, you know, but ultimately, you know, you can get to a place where you start a family and you're living in a place that you want to live in, and sometimes it just takes some sacrifices to get there. But ultimately, I think it's the best job in the world. It doesn't feel like work to me. I love coming here every day, and certainly being on the field and working with the team.
What advice would you give those college coaches looking to become head coaches and build their own program and build their own legacy one day?
Yeah, I think you have to get your foot in the door somewhere. You know, I think it's one of the most frustrating things when you feel like you're ready to be a head coach and you get passed by because you don't have head coaching experience, right? And it's the biggest challenge because, well, how do you get it? Someone's going to have to take a chance on me. And I think there are schools out there, whether it's Division II schools or smaller mid-major programs, that are looking for up and coming coaches versus somebody that has, you know, a proven track record. And that was the opportunity that I took at Jacksonville University. And was it perfect? No. You know, was my budget great? No. And if I had worried about all of those things on the front end, maybe I wouldn't have taken the job. But if I didn't have head coaching experience on my resume, I also don't think I would have been in the running for the Air Force job. So I think you have to be willing again to you know, maybe take a less desirable job to get head coaching experience, and then you have to grind. You know, you have to grind, and you have to prove yourself, and you have to win and show that you can turn a program around if that's what's needed. But ultimately you have to take that first opportunity to get your foot in the door. And if you don't have head coaching experience, maybe, taking a club team on the side, to kind of give yourself that experience, or working with your current head coach, to maybe, take on an associate head coach title so that you have more of that responsibility going into your first head coaching job.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Air Force women's soccer program at?
I will be honest, I don't use Twitter. I'm not a Twitter person. And I deleted my Facebook. So really all I have is Instagram. And I am AF Coach Busby on Instagram. And our women's soccer page is AF underscore WSOC for our women's soccer page. AF underscore WSOC for the women's soccer page.
Thank you again, Coach Laura Bursby, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the Air Force head's women's soccer coach.
Thanks, Brandon.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Laura Bursby, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.